Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. So just if everybody would confirm that, just a sound mic and a visual check. Hey, I guess some of you are on the premiere for the video and you saw what's coming to the Philippines. More than likely, in my opinion, is divorce law. And in my opinion, that's will lead to a big change here. Change in way of thinking, change on and perspective when it comes to marriage, especially on the female side and on the male side. I mean, males tend to respond to what is going on in society. I mean, that's why, for example, red pill is so popular in the West, and so many people are not getting married in the West is due to basically the behavior of the courts and females in the West, right? So anyway, I thought I would talk about it a bit because it's a very important change. It's a change that I think will lead to drastic change in behavior of people eventually, so, or of females. So we'll start with Mr. Ron. Good morning, Paul, and everyone from Davao City. Good morning, Mr. Ron. Nice to see you on the live cast. I think the bikini is going to be very expensive, just saying. Yeah. I think it might be for some people because some people have this mentality, it's not going to happen to me, right? Or they're not aware of the laws here in the Philippines or how laws can change. I mean, you might get married and have this impression that there's no divorce, which right now there isn't, and then think you're safe. And then say 2 years down the line, 1 year down the line, this new law comes in. Well, you're not safe anymore. You know, your assets are community property now. So I'm just saying one has to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. And if you're the marriage type person, then you have to protect yourself with a prenup and maybe even a postnup. And if you're already married, and you should go ahead and protect yourself with a postnup. So, but again, I would talk to a lawyer for sure, because before the law gets into place, to make sure that everything is protected before, you know, you go ahead and before that law comes into. Maybe can you open the before the law gets implemented? Good morning, Ina. How are you? From the UK. My cup of tea. Let's see. Wayne says, also not just divorce, but cohabitating, meaning living without being married, has a law on the books already. Yeah, that's law 147 and 148. That is the common law marriage, and it is effective immediately once you have a live-in partner. But that law is, I've looked and looked for case law, and I can't really see where it's gone to court and property is being divided between a foreigner and a Filipina. But that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I just haven't been able to find it. And it's a bit more less restrictive than marriage, meaning, you know, it's hard for, it's only when you live with that person. So the assets you brought in before is actually yours. So, yeah. Paul, according to Article 147, you and Mia are cohabitating. Yes, correct. And if you break up, she is entitled to half your assets, even though you're not married. Actually, no, Ray. It is based on what you make when you are living together. So if I, for example, made $100,000, which I haven't, but I wish I had. If I'd made a certain amount of money while cohabitating with her, she'd have a right to half of those assets, correct? Or if we are cohabitating right now, which we are, and I decided to buy this condo I'm living in, then she'd have actually, she'd own half of it under that law. But what you bring into the marriage, that's different. Or if you can show that you purchased something, not marriage, the common law, if you can show that you bought something outside of that with money that you brought into the common law, then it's actually yours. It's my understanding of the law and my understanding talking to a lawyer. Many US states have common laws. Got to watch out for those also. Yeah, exactly. Before it was just marriage, and then smart men stopped getting married, so they had to come up with something else to steal their money. It seems like. Good morning from Davao to Wacko Jacko. Wacko Jacko. Greetings, Paul. Found your channel by accident from Dirty Old Man. Hello, Dirty Old Man. Wayne, that is correct, Ray. That is enforced already in the Philippines. Yeah, 147 and 148, those are the common law marriages. Yeah, I mean common law articles. And I covered that in a video, and I will wait, let me get the link here. So you guys got it. So let me type it here. Common law marriage video. There you go. You guys can watch this afterwards if you want to, and I go into that, quite details into that. Wondering that Doc says, I actually didn't know there was no divorce in the Philippines. That's one of the things that I think has attracted a lot of people here, was actually the no divorce. I mean, that's kind of, to me, I don't know. I'm, like I said, I'm not going to get married, so it doesn't really pertain to me. But I think when a person is Christian, goes in front of the church and God and says, till death do us part, and swears in front of everybody, what's the point of that if it's not forever? If you can just get divorced willy-nilly whenever you want, what's the point of it? I don't get it. So, and then people say, well, what if a girl's with an abuser? What if a guy's with an abusive girl? Shouldn't you have vetted that person pretty well before you got married? I mean, people get married after a month or two. I mean, it's like society has to now suffer the consequences for people making really bad decisions. I just don't think that's the way to go. I think if you get married, it should be forever. Otherwise, don't get married. Just cohabitate, right? Okay, yes, I have. Robert says, I have a way around this, I think, guys. Yeah, just don't get married. Wondering, Doc, I met a girl from Mindanao last week here in Seoul. Right before sex, she told me she had HPV and genital herpes, got from a U.S. soldier. Well, I'm glad she told you right before and not afterwards. Thanks. TMI, buddy. You have to get a lawyer involved and sign prenup and postnup if you're living together, the same. Yeah, I think so. I think you have to protect yourself. I really do. I wasn't even aware of this common law marriage thing before actually a few weeks back. And then I was like, oh, shit, you know? So people have to be aware of that. But again, if it's common law, it's the assets that you bring into the common law is yours. So it's a bit different than marriage. Once you get married, all assets are considered community property, is my understanding. The Far East isn't so far behind, you mean? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think they are safe cohabitating. They are not. Safer, maybe, but not safe. I agree. Was that my ex-wife on the picture? Maybe. Wayne says, just most Filipinos and foreigners do not know about those laws. True. So it's just about the divorce. If you are living after 2 weeks with a Filipina and cohabitating. Yeah, most people are not aware of the laws, and especially Filipinas and Filipinos. They don't really, I don't think any of them know about common law. Well, I shouldn't say any, but majority of them don't know about that law. I mean, I thought I knew about the laws here because I'm kind of hyper careful, but I didn't know about it. So you gotta you got to be aware, and also not just what the laws are today, but think ahead what the laws can be ahead. So, I mean, there might not be divorce, like I said, right now, but looks like it's coming. And if it's not here in a year or two, it might be here in 5 years, might be here in 10 years. So you got to think like that and think about how to protect yourself. P just put out a video about living together without marriage, and you are safer being married with a prenup. She touched on the divorce law as well. No, I don't agree with her at all. You are safer having common law than marriage. Marriage, everything's considered community property, and prenup, yes. With a prenup, maybe, but you can have a prenup also when you live together, or a waiver, as they call it over here. So yeah, my solution to that is don't get married. Females from the West are after money. Yeah, I mean, some are, not everyone. I mean, there's good girls over there too. There's good girls and bad girls over here, but I would say majority are good and minority are bad here. Vice versa, maybe in the West. So, what if you hire them as a caretaker? That's different. Then they're working for you. Like if they're living with you and unless you're, you can't hire them as a caretaker if you're having a relationship with them. I mean, you can, but I think it will still be considered common law as you're having a relationship with that person. But like I said, I mean, I would certainly consult a lawyer. Like it's only 1,000 pesos, $20 to $30, and make sure. I don't know how much a waiver would cost to get that written and signed and everything, but we're talking less than $100, guys. Well worth the money to save yourself major headaches. OGRE MGTOW says, after having survived the marriage divorce court circus, being made homeless and penniless, I'm not going to risk it again. From personal experience in Ohio. Yeah, I completely understand. In the West, they call it divorce rape for a reason. Articles 147 and 148 mandate that income and assets are jointly owned by both parties based upon cohabitation. All income and assets obtained during the relationship are equally split. Exactly. Well said, John. All incomes and assets obtained during the relationship are equally split. My understanding of the marriage part is it's not during, it's all assets. So just be aware of that, unless there's a prenup. Evening from the UK in Norway, who get the reindeer in divorce. Okay, who gets the reindeer? I'm seeing 147 and 148 discussed all over YouTube and FB now. So knowledge of it is becoming well known. Yeah, that's a great thing. The more YouTube people cover this, the better. It is important for people to know about this law, so before they make a decision, they understand the consequences of that decision. Good morning, Les. Ryan says, protect your lifetime of hard work. House, pension, social security, 401k, stock portfolio. Stay single and enjoy the freedom and liberty to explore the Philippines. Well, to each his own, Ryan. Everybody has different things that brings them happiness. So whatever brings you happiness, that's what the route you should follow. Wayne, the divorce law would help those Filipinos who have had their spouse abusing them or cheating on them, and they would have to wait 5 years of separation. No, actually, you're wrong, Wayne. The divorce laws are more than that. They're not just for spousal abuse. And if you do it that way, then you're going to get a lot of false accusations, as you do in the West. So there's no good way around this law to try to make it look good. I mean, yes, there are women that are abused. Hell, there are men that are abused in relationships as well. And but like I said, if you haven't vetted the person, why should we as a society suffer the consequences of your actions? Greetings from Edna, Minnesota. Greetings, Gary. Um, P just put out a video piggybacking off your video about living together without marriage. She touched on the divorce law as well. She talked to her lawyer friend. Well, what did they say? What's that phrase? God, I forgot. Something about copying people is the biggest. God, I should do these live casts at night when my brain is working, not first thing in the morning. But yeah, I don't know. No matter what subject you have in the Philip on YouTube, somebody's done it before. So, but everybody has their own twist on it. So, the Supreme Court held in Valdez versus Regional Tribal Court BR 102, Kansas City, any property acquired during the union is prima facie presumed to have been obtained through their joint efforts. Yes, correct. During the unit's prima facie meaning the default, presumed to have been obtained, unless you can prove otherwise. So if you can prove those assets belong to you before the common law, then it's yours. But yes, if you can't prove it, it's together. So that's to make it the split easier, because not everybody keeps a receipt for the sofa they bought, the TV they bought, where the money came from, and all that. So if you, for example, bought a TV and went to a shop and used a credit card that was your account in the US, for example, I think that would be proof that those were your assets before the marriage. But so again, it gets messy if it gets to that. In most cases, it doesn't. I mean, who's going to fight over sofas and TVs and hire a lawyer over that? No one. But now, if you buy a condo or buy a car, something worth more money, that's probably when people start looking at that. Do other Asian countries have this common law rule? You know what? I don't know. I really don't know. You'd have to look. I haven't studied that. I haven't looked for that. I live in the Philippines, so that's my concern. Lawyers charge Western rates there. No, they don't. Have you been to a lawyer in the US? It's like at least $300-400. Most are around $500 an hour. Here you're paying $20 an hour, $30 an hour. So you're talking less than 1/10 of the rate. So yeah. John says, the lawyer in P's video actually said you're more safe with a prenup than living together. You can live together and have a agreement. So I mean, just living together without any agreement, yeah, I agree. But you can live together and have an agreement, a default agreement. That is correct, Wade. Excellent vlog just today. Paul, you need to watch it. We'll do later. Greetings from Israel. How's Cebu, Paul? From here. Cebu is great. The weather yesterday we were supposed to go on a trip yesterday, but it was raining all day, so we didn't. And it's kind of cloudy today, so it's nice. The new law will create as much greater impact on family structure than This new law will create a much greater impact on family structure than economics of dividing assets. Completely agree on that statement. Members of society are easier to control if you break family units and divide male, female. I think breaking up the core family is the worst thing you can do for society. And you look at that in the US. I mean, you have to look at the US. Why you have to look at the US is because it's like way ahead, right? It's been doing this for decades now. And you look at the consequences of what's happening in the US today. What's the statistics of single family homes versus core family homes? And it's horrific. The statistics are horrific. So I'm just saying, breaking up core family homes, it's going to lead to bad stuff in society. It really is. Wondering, Doc, I'm just dating the Korean actress and British Manchester girl who's half Filipina. Oh, the herpes girl wants to be hiking buddies. Okay. Guy hitting a lady up at the bar. Hi, cutie. Can I buy you a drink? And by the way, could you sign this contract? Yeah. No matter how long you know the girl before you tie the knot, you never really know what's on the plate until after the ring is on the finger. Kind of agree, but don't agree, because I think the longer you live with a person, the harder it is for that person to hide who they are. You're going to see more and more of who they are. Slowly, it'll come out. So I think 1 to 2 years is what I would put it at, where it's almost impossible to hide who you are, you know. If you want a clear overview about this matter, consider watching the video. She has a lawyer with her that explains all about the law and the future divorce project. I think that video came out last night. Paul, is it not true that all property is community in a marriage? That is my understanding, yes. That depends on the country. I'm talking about here in the Philippines, obviously. There are also countries where only the addition to your wealth has to be shared 50%. Yeah, even in the US, in some states, it's like that. But I'm talking about the Philippines now. Wandering Doc says, sadly, fun times in Asia is over as I have to finish my last 1.5 years in the US. Well, that's going to be a shocker for you, Wandering Doc. But, you know, we'll say welcome back in a couple of years. Kenny, only reason to get married here would be the 13A visa. Yeah. There's other reasons to get married, you know. Some people believe in marriage. They believe in the sanctity of it. They believe in church, and they believe in, you know, the religion and all that stuff. So there is other reasons. And for some people, it makes them happier. You know, they feel like it's a stable union, you know, where people are more likely to stay and not do something wrong. So for some people, it makes them happier. And as long as there's no, you know, financial incentive to be married or financial incentive to get divorced and so on, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing for everyone. It's a bad thing for some people, but not for everyone. Can the deadbeat cohabitator get locked up for unpaid support? Well, if you guys are living together and the 147, 148 should be implemented in your case, which it hardly ever is, but let's say it was, it's just division of assets that you bought together while in that relationship. So, or while cohabitating. So I don't know how you could be a deadbeat in that case. If you're talking about child support, I don't think there's any prison for deadbeat dads here, but man, you should always, if you have a kid here, man, you need to send money. You know, spend $200-300 a month to support that kid. I mean, it's not a lot of money, and it'll make a world of difference for that kid. Marriage is okay if you get all the ups signed pre and post. Yeah, I agree. If that's your thing, then you should. I mean, have a prenup and a postnup and get married and enjoy life if that's what you want. You know, like I said, marriage is not for everybody, but it is for some people. Tuatha, according to Cooper, there is no good girl. Have you gone soft on the red pill? Actually, that's not true. It's not that there's no good girls, but he's talking about the default behavior of girls is a certain way, just like the default behavior of men is a certain way. And now society constricts how people behave because what they call a social construct, right? So people behave in a certain way because of laws, because of social norms, and so on. That's what makes a society. So marriage must be legal in my home country. They're going to check all the documents from the PH authorities. Lots of papers going to be needed, says Marcus. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Robert Thomas, well, hell, looks like I have to learn Spanish. He's not coming. Do you have a waiver? Are you talking to me, Mr. Ron? Secret. If you spend all your income while cohabiting, what's left to divide up? Nothing. And remember, this is, I mean, that's why I don't think this law is really the common law marriage is not really necessarily a big thing for retirees, because retirees, I mean, let's say you're bringing in 2,000 a month, 3,000 a month. Most people that have a stream coming in, they're not saving. I mean, they're just spending whatever they get in every month, basically enjoying life, on rent, on food, on travel, and so on. So they don't really have anything at the end of the day. They're going to split up, except for maybe sofas and TVs and maybe a scooter that they bought during the time. So it's not really a big deal, and people are not going to get, the female is not going to go to a lawyer and ask to get half of the assets, because it's just not worth it. By the time she pays for the lawyer and by the time it goes to court and everything, she spends a lot more money on lawyers than she has getting back. So it's just not worth it. Now, on the other hand, if you're married and you have a big bank account, you have a 401k, you have savings and so on, that's a different story, right? Or you're ready, let's say you have a house and you move her in, or you get married. Well, that house is suddenly half of it is hers. But if you're common law, it's not. You bought it before the common law marriage, is my understanding. But like I always say, contact a lawyer. My second divorce took 2.5 years, about 20 court appearances. Oh my God. Every time lawyer goes to the courthouse for an hour, it's billed minimum 4 hours. It's a racket. Yeah, it is a racket. Guys, if you haven't seen Divorce Corp on Netflix, that is an eye-opener. I mean, an eye-opener. You understand the depth of the corruption in the judiciary, family court, as well as as for the politicians. So you should watch that and understand that, in my personal opinion, that is coming to the Philippines slowly but surely if they implement this divorce law. Because, I mean, money is a big motivator. And if people can get that type of money in divorce, lawyers can get that type of money in divorce, they will go after the assets. And once you set a precedent, more people will come behind. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Thank you for that too. I thought that's that's what I was trying to say when somebody mentioned that P had copied one of my videos. But that's great, man. Hope she gave me some credit on that. Let's see. Or you marry one of those £10 a year women that in 10 years you have trouble getting her in and out of the house. That causes a healthcare issue. That is certainly a reason for divorce. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, not everybody gets like that after marriage. I think it's, if you as a male set the frame and, say, hey, we're getting married, but I do not want this. I don't want you to gain weight. I want us to be the same. I want us to go hiking. I want us to do A, B, and C just like we are now. I think most women would respect that. Most women would try to stay in shape. Most women. But if you just don't say anything and are scared to say something when she starts gaining weight, like, oh, she's gaining weight, but I'm too scared to say something because she might get mad at me, then she'll do whatever she wants. But if you say to her, hey, you're gaining weight, you need to lose it, get on a diet, start exercising, most women will respect that, at least here in the Philippines. In the US, that's a different story. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Yes. Thank you for that, Gary. Like I said, in the morning, my mind. Don't get married, then you don't need a divorce. Yeah, that is exactly right, guys. Don't get married, so you don't need a divorce. That's my thing. I mean, I've been married twice, okay? They weren't bad marriages, and the divorce hardly cost me anything. I mean, I had prenup, so I lost very little money. I mean, I'm talking less than 0.5% of my assets were gone due to the marriage, So, I mean, basically I gave her a used car and that was it. So I think not getting married again for me, there's just no point. I've done it twice. Why would I do it a third time? Now, somebody out there that's never been married, I can understand that they want to be married. It's like for example, me, I've never had kids. And that's one thing I feel is lacking in my life, is like, I wish I had kids, and maybe one day I will have kids, but it's like, that's the one thing that's just, I haven't done in my life is have my own children. I've had a stepson, but I haven't had my own children. So I can understand why people who have never been married, like, think, maybe marriage is a good thing. If only they knew. So, yeah. Thailand resolved this by not allowing foreigners to buy property in their own name. Therefore, it automatically defaults in full to the wife. The same here in the Philippines. You're not allowed to buy property in your own name. You're allowed to buy condo in your name, but not land. So, yeah. My massage girl never asked to get married. Go LDR, long distance relationship. Okay, guys, this is not a video or a live stream about pee, so let's move on from pee. I'm gonna skip those. Are the gyms in Cebu opening during the no, they're not, they're closed. So, I just have to work out at home. The pool is open, so I do laps, and I've become a bit lazy, to be honest. I need to up my game here. So I waited 2 years, Paul, and for sure they can hide it that long. Really? Wow. You think she hid it, or do you think you just didn't see it? That's a difference. When you're in love, sometimes you don't see stuff that other people see. Sometimes you gotta listen to what friends are saying, because sometimes you don't see it, but your friends do, right? So with what you're saying, is you about to enter into a legal agreement with Mia. Not sure what you mean by that, OC. If you're meaning we are under that 147, 148, yeah, absolutely. As soon as you live together, you are. It's my understanding. Ending procreation for a century would achieve eternal peace. Only primitive drivers, narcissism, and religious delusion keep the show on the road. I know some people. I'm not religious by any means, but I think religion has its place in society. Before I married my Israeli husband, his family, especially his kids, are thinking that I'm just for their money. After 8 years and counting, now I find myself I'm more financially secure than them. That's great, Mira. Good stuff. You have to understand that when people see a lot of bad stuff from females, the way they're acting in the West, then the default response is, assuming the worst. So in a way, just like men in the West have to prove their innocence if a female has an accusation, kind of women that have to prove their innocence because of all the bad female behavior in the West, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's sad, but that's just the way it is. Hopefully I'll just meet a Chinese girl to practice my Mandarin. Definitely not going to live with anyone. I don't know how the laws are in China. So, babe, could you heat this up? Well, it's under discussion in the Philippine, I think, Congress. Huh?
1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. Dirty old man says, avoid the Chinese. They all believe it's 50% after being married for an hour. Oh, golly. Guys, I'm going to go on to about 7:45, so about 30 more minutes, and I'm out of here. You need to see this. There is no good girl video from Richard Cooper. I've seen so many videos. I probably have seen it. I just don't remember it. You can't remember every video you've seen and everything you've heard. But I'll make a note of that. My ex had the police serve me divorce papers and restraining orders at work. She said I beat her up and I never laid a hand on her. Her word against mine, and they believe her. No mark, bruises, or cuts. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this goes on in the West because females now know all they have to do is do an accusation, and they're going to win in court. They're going to win financially in court, and it's just so easy. There's no evidence. They don't need any evidence. They don't need any video. They don't need anything. Just a simple accusation, and you as a man somehow have to prove you're innocent. Now you have to go, if you've had previous relationships, previous marriages, and so on, you have to pull all those people in court and show the court that you've never been a violent person, you've never done A, B, or C, and still they might rule against you. So yeah, it's become ridiculous in the West. I would never get into a relationship with a Western woman in the West. I'm done with that. If you are living with two girls, if one decides to leave and goes to court, how do you divide up the assets? That wouldn't happen because the law says you have to live as man and wife. So if you two are if you're having a relationship with two girls, the court wouldn't even, I don't believe the court would look at it as common law marriage. But again, I'm not a lawyer, but and again, I would contact a lawyer if that's your plan. But my understanding is that's the way it is. If you have two girls, they cannot prove common law, I heard, but I'm getting old. Yeah. Birkin says, I'm pro-divorce because of those women physically abused by their husbands. Yeah, women always use that, but what is that? 0.01% of the population. So, why is a woman getting married to an abusive guy? That's the question I keep asking myself. The Philippines and the Vatican are the only two countries in the world that don't allow divorce. And good for them. That's what I say. I mean, can you imagine in the US, if they didn't allow the US divorce in the US, how much better the situation would be? I think it would be a lot better. I mean, really, I think people, if they're going to get married, they really, really think hard about it, okay? I'm divorced twice, so I'm not the one to talk, but hell, if I'd known back then there was no divorce, God, I would have been much, I probably would have never gotten married, to be honest. But, people will get married, and I think, if you want to get married, good for you, but it says till death do us part. Isn't that the way it should be then? Or why are you even getting married if you're swearing to God and church and till death do us part, and then 2 years later you're divorced? Girlfriend intentionally gained weight via weight gain pills. Wow. Why would you do that? For you to divorce her? BS, she'll not lose weight just because you want. So rich, you need a prenatal. Well, if you set the frame, she will, man. What's another used car to you? No, it's an old car, man. Like worth $5,000. That's what that divorce cost me, $5,000. So yeah. No matter where they're all now, they're sitting on a gold mine. No matter where they all know they're sitting on a gold mine. Yeah, true. If that law comes in, yeah. And remember, this is another thing, okay? We've talked a lot about age gap here in the Philippines. A lot of older guys getting married to younger women, like in their 20s, guys in their 60s and 70s, and even beyond, getting married to girls in their 20s. And those girls, are married to those guys. And, if the love disappears out of that relationship, or if another guy comes into that relationship and they know, for example, he's worth 30 million pesos, 40 million pesos, 50 million pesos, has a nice house, a car, and everything, the temptation to get divorced now would be much higher, right? That's just the way it is, man. And I think you'll see it. I think you'll see it. And there'll be a lot of bad examples of foreigners getting screwed over before people stop and think. But even now, you see it all the time. The Filipina stole my house, right? All the time you'll see guys will put the property in a girl's name because they have to if they live here. Well, there's ways around it, but not everybody knows how to get around it. And you'll see it still to this day, Filipinas stealing guys' house. Even there's videos upon videos upon videos on YouTube warning you not to do this. And still people do it, still people do it and they lose it. So it's like sometimes you can't help people from themselves. Tuata says, no, she hid it. My friends and family thought she was great. Oh, wow. Amazing. She must have been one of a kind, man. One of a kind. You don't have to have kids to be happy. Just be a kid. I try, man. Prenup with a weight clause. I don't know if they'll accept that in court or not. I'm 66, a veteran pension, had 2 kids that I raised, and I never got married. I wanted to come to Baguio City, but I'm going to Chiapas, Mexico in late September. I see a lot of people that would like to come to the Philippines going to South America, and I'm wondering why aren't you guys headed towards Thailand? So maybe someone can answer that for me. My ex-wife was big on me getting a large life insurance policy on myself. Oh my God, that's a bad sign. With her as the beneficiary, she about blew a fuse when I said, why would I do that? I'll be dead. Good stuff, Drew. Good stuff. I love it. Men stuff, says Sunrise. Good morning, Sunrise. Lol, at least you're honest, Paul. 3rd time is a charm. Brother, you just make sure you invest between 3 to 5 years to ensure she's a good catch. Not all are after your assets. Marriage is not a necessity. Yeah, exactly. To me, if you really care for somebody and love somebody, you can just live together. Why do you have to get married? Why do you have to get the state and church and everybody else involved? It's not for me. Prenups are not allowed in the Philippines. No, that's not right. Prenups are allowed here, from what I've read. So. But again, I'm not a lawyer. Contact a lawyer. But from what I've read, I don't know where this prenups are not allowed in the Philippines comes from. I've read online that they are allowed and people sign prenups. So I would absolutely go to a lawyer and talk to them if you're planning to get married. Is there a place similar to Baguio? Yeah, there is Valencia, which is not quite Baguio, but still it's nice and cool. What's that place? Tagaytay? What's Tagaytay in Luzon also is very similar to Baguio, is my understanding. Now, I haven't been there, but that's my understanding. Sunrise, in China, there is no wealth redistribution in divorce. You contribute nothing financially in the marriage. You end up on the street in divorce. Love it. That's the way it should be. He would see you as soft red, Paul. Pink? Good morning, Paul, says Paul Fisher. I'm a guy you said your girlfriend wouldn't like. I'm married. What? I'm a guy you said your girlfriend wouldn't like. Okay. I married my Filipina girlfriend for only 3 years to get her in the US, and we're still together. This was 12 years ago. Well, congrats, Paul. Always exceptions to the rule. Good stuff. Now, Paul, what's the age difference between you guys? I'd like to know that too. Marriage is not for everyone. I married a Filipina back when I was stationed at Clark in the 80s. I got 2 great kids out of it now, and I have 3 grandkids. She was a good wife for most of our marriage. Oh, so you're no longer married, I assume, then, Mike? Maybe pink pill, yeah, maybe. Let's see. A visa beneficiary to the USA can leave anytime, and the petitioner must support for 10 years. Many stay long enough to get an anchor baby. When you say a visa petitioner, you mean for marriage, right? Yes, I remember that law because I looked into all that when I brought my Filipina over. However, with the 10 years, it's hardly ever implemented. I looked for that online back then. I don't know how it is now, but it was hardly ever implemented, where they go after your assets for her going to the government and asking for money. After listening to this live stream, a robotic doll doesn't seem so expensive and a good investment. That's funny. That's a different live stream, but I really believe that's coming in the future. And the reason I say that, I mean, you look at what's happening in the West, right? Less people are getting married. More and more guys are getting red pilled and refusing to be in relationships. And you look at the female behavior in the West, and you think to yourself, now if they had like a female robot that cost, let's say, $50,000 or $100,000, that was really looked real, acted real, and everything, how many guys would be buying that? I think it would be out. I mean, I think it'd be through the roof. I don't think you'd see many guys getting married. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, I think it's coming. I think it's coming, man. It's just a matter of technology and all that getting there. MedTech, because she had the conception that she is underweight. Well, this is true according to BMI. I wanted a skinny girl and told her. Oh, okay. Well, you always want what you don't have. If you got a skinny girl, you want a voluptuous girl. If you have a voluptuous girl, you want a skinny girl. You have a tall girl, you want a short girl. You have a short girl, you want a tall girl. That's just the way we men are, I think. Drew says, divorce will spoil the attraction to the Philippines. For some, yes, it will spoil the attraction of finding a Filipina and getting married to a Filipina. Not straight away, I think, because once this law is implemented, it'll take time before it really starts having the negative effects. But once those negative effects get there, and once the first divorce to a foreigner and a foreigner loses half his assets, and that's all over the news and everything, yeah, I think it'll have a very detrimental effect. I don't think it will stop many from coming here, but it'll stop very many, at least those who are smart and aware of stuff, from getting married, So I think that's the future. And that's kind of sad for Filipinas, because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. That's to Phil. A simple solution: divorce laws state the party asking for divorce must agree to relinquish all assets to the other partner. Yeah, but they'll never do it that way. They just want, because they always use this default argument. Well, we want to protect women who are abused. We want women to have an option. We want this. We want that. We want equality. But really, they never want equality. They want equality of outcome. So yeah. So just rent because rent is cheap, and don't marry. But treat her well. Yeah, that's true. Rent is kind of a derogatory word for females. But yeah, just be with girls. You don't have to be married. You can have a live-in partner, and you can go to a lawyer and make sure you sign the paperwork and all that. You don't have to be married. If a woman ever wants you to put a life insurance on yourself, that's a red flag, meaning you're worth more dead than alive. Yeah, you can never make it. And that's the thing. That's why I don't like this divorce law that's coming, because now you're giving people a financial incentive to behave badly. And when you give people a financial incentive to behave badly, many will behave badly. So the same with insurance. I mean, some woman who stopped loving her husband 5 years ago and has an insurance policy, if he dies, she's going to get paid out, $500,000, is going to think to herself, yeah, he's worth being dead for $500,000. What a life I can live. Some woman is going to think that. So you should never do that to yourself. And if you do love a person a lot and you want her to be financially secure after you pass away, in case you pass away, yes, do it, but never tell her. Never tell her about it, Never tell her about the insurance. Never tell her that she's part of your inheritance. Never tell her. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell your friends. Don't tell anybody. Make it so that she is secure without telling anybody, because money does strange things to people, and not necessarily to her, but suddenly her family's involved. They know that if you die, she gets a big payout. That means they get a better life, and so on. So there's a lot of dynamics you might not understand in the society and in the family structure that can cause harm to you. So if you do something like that, make sure it's an anonymous and you don't tell anybody. So yeah, that would be my advice. Richard said, just get a dog. Even if you come home late at night, they are very happy to see you. Yeah, they are. I had a dog in the US, and God, I love that dog. He passed away 5 years ago, but yeah, dogs are awesome. But they are a lot of work. They're just like kids, even more work sometimes. Thank you for that generous super chat, act of kindness. That's very kind of you, act of kindness. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, here we are. This is cracking me up. Thanks, guys. Oh, you're welcome, man. If it floats, flies, or fornicates, it's cheaper to rent than buy. Good morning, Angie, here from Japan. Being separated from my Japanese husband because divorce is hard in the Philippines. Yep. So a lot of people do that. They'll leave the Philippines and get divorced elsewhere. So that is an option. Thailand is requesting 2 weeks isolation upon arrival. I thought they did away with that. I thought it was like 5 or 7 days now. So they're back to 2 weeks now? Okay, that's why people are going to South America. Okay, I get it then. Bars, etc. are closed in Thailand. Restaurants are only take home. Yeah. Yeah, they're getting stricter. That's right. Okay, yeah. So South America it is then. I've heard it cost 500,000 pesos to annul a marriage there. It is expensive. Sounds about right. 500,000 pesos sounds about right. That's about $10,000. Yep. But again, some people probably get it cheaper, and for some others, it's more expensive. Prenup is only valid if done before marriage. True, but you can have a postnup after marriage, so a waiver, as they call it. And I think that is valid, but again, contact a lawyer. Dating in the US. Hi, I'm 32, have 4 kids, I'm pregnant again. I'm looking for a man who makes 6 figures and respects me. I'm not always faithful, but expect you to be to me. Yeah, that's the US. Not only making 6 figures, but you have to be 6 foot tall and a gentleman and have a 6-pack, while they can be fat and ugly and look like the. Yeah, I'll stop there to keep this kid friendly. Going through separation, precept agreement, 320,000 now, 1,200 per month for life. All that's left is that 6-month separation period. Not getting married again. I'll get on the Geopol bus. Yeah, marriage in the US is a scam, man. Again, watch that documentary on Netflix called Divorce Corp. It's an eye-opener. It really is. If you're ever thinking of getting married, watch Divorce Corp on Netflix, and that will set you straight. Angie, here again, I'm planning to. This is for Angie. Oh, wait. Angie, here again. I'm planning to retire over there in Mactan, Newtown in 2 years. What could be the situation there? In 2 years? I think it'll be open with a lot of tourists, kind of like before the pandemic. Maybe not as busy, but kind of reaching those levels. Jim, Mike Your kids and grandkids are a gift and a blessing. Yeah. David says, although costing me a fortune to divorce, I guess it may be a small price to pay for my sanity and freedom. Yeah, true. But it's kind of sad that you have to pay a fortune to get out of something you don't want to be in, right? If you weren't married in the first place, you wouldn't have to worry about that. Pamplona, going to buy one is somehow Baguio like every morning. Can be a whole day if the weather is not good. Very Baguio feels if Paul Angel pass here. Okay. Have you heard of Pamplona? Is that in Negros? Is that where we went? Oh, yeah. I've been there. We went to a place called Cafe Alicia. Really nice. Yeah, Pamplona is nice, actually. It really is nice. But it's far away from everything. That's the minus.
Well, that's why it's called it's getaway.
It's a getaway, yeah, but it's not a place to live, huh? I enjoy your vlogs, Paul. Adios. Good night, Robert. As soon as divorce hits, the feminist movement will not be far behind. Yeah, exactly. That's my whole point. It's going to be slowly but surely. It'll get here. My ex-wife, she brought religion into my life. I never believed in hell till I met her. That's a good one. That's right. Most divorces side in the monetary favor for the woman. Yep, unless you marry a woman with money. Yeah, but women always marry up, right? They marry on equal or up when it comes to financial. You never see a girl, a girl who's a nurse or wanting to marry a guy who works at Walmart. It's always got to be a doctor or another nurse or something above her, right? That's just the way it is. While we guys, we marry down all the time. It doesn't bother us because we look for beauty and youth, while they look for stability, security. So yeah. Hasn't divorce always been an option? It's just expensive, so nobody gets a divorce over there. No, there's no divorce here in the Philippines right now, but that's about to change, I believe. So if divorce is coming to the Philippines, will that make it only effective with any new marriage after the law goes into effect? No. My understanding, of course, it'll affect every marriage. So that's why I'm saying, and that's my understanding. But again, if you are married living in the Philippines, contact a lawyer. But my understanding is that it'll affect all marriages. But my understanding is that you can get a post-nup, or what they call here a waiver. So if I was married living in the Philippines right now, I would contact a lawyer, talk to them about this situation and see how much a post-nup a waiver, and then talk to the wife about it and say, this is what I need you to do, And if she refuses to do that, well, then you're in trouble, right? I mean, at that point, you have to find a way to diversify your assets where, like, for example, sell the house and start renting and put your money elsewhere that is not in the Philippines. That would be my advice. But again, I would talk to a lawyer. Hi, Paul. Been reviewing dating in the USA, 2 YouTube channels, and explain the traditional man versus the modern man. Darius M. and Prussia staying single. Can't win at marriage. No, you can't. Not in the US. I actually prayed a lot for my ex-wife. Prayed she would drive off a bridge, get bit of a rabbit. Talk about prayers. Oh my God. I guess the prayers didn't work, did they, buddy? Here, JB, have you considered how cohabitation, even for a short time, is considered common law marriage in the Philippines? Yes, it's 147 and 148. We've already talked about that, but such common law can result in the richer participant losing some wealth. Yes, but in common law marriage, it is here in the Philippines. Again, this is my understanding. It is the assets that are acquired during the common law period. So not before, but during the common law period. Biden divorced Afghanistan. He left 70 billion in military assets to her. Yeah, and what did she do? She fucked it up. The Islamic laws are looking better. Maybe having Muslim girlfriends is a better choice. Well, I mean, it all depends. If you want to get married, maybe that is a better choice. I don't know. Maybe it is. Guys, I'm going to go on for about 13 more minutes, and then I'm going to say goodbye. So get your comments in before the end. Just marry a girl who can stand on her own feet. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Do you know why divorce is so expensive? Because it's worth it. Yeah, that's an old one, man. A good one, but an old one. See. Scott says, I sent you an email a week ago, by the way. Okay, I'll check that out. Biden is a deadbeat dad to Afghanistan. Yeah, well, we've been paying for 20 years. I think that's enough. Actually, nurses do marry, but very far down. It's part of their caregiving side. Really? I didn't. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought, I mean, female nature is women always marry up. So, subject change. Did you see PI government is going to crack down on people earning income in PI from YouTube if over a threshold? Forgot the value. Government is telling citizens and expats to start reporting and pay taxes. Yeah, that's really for a different live stream. I'm not get into that. I've read a bit about it, but I'm not really like that up to date on it, so I don't want to really discuss that. Mexico, good option if you speak Spanish. Yeah, and Spanish, I don't think is that hard to learn. So if you're willing to sit down and spend an hour or two a day, I think you could learn, at least to make it possible to communicate. Ex-wife died owing me over $3,000 in back support at $25 a month per 3 kids. Okay. Well, that's the end of the comments, believe it or not. That's to Paul Fisher. So, guys, with that, I'm going to say this, just protect yourself at all times. It's like a boxing ring out there, right? So you just got to be careful, man. You got to be careful. And whatever you do, make sure that you talk to a lawyer. If you are in a situation, if you're in any of these situations that we talked about today, talk to a lawyer. It is cheap. And right now they're doing Zoom calls because they can't meet anybody in the office. So it's a great way to communicate with a lawyer and just get your questions answered. And then if you have to have a post-nup, prenup, whatever type of nup, a waiver, whatever they call it here, then go ahead and get it signed and get it done, just to protect yourself. And whoever you're with, just explain it to her. It's not doesn't mean you don't care for her or whatever, but it just means that you are protecting your assets. And I think most women would actually understand that. And if they don't, you need to get rid of her somehow. So anyway, some funny comments. Sorry, I'm reading this last comments here. Dennis has got a good point before I leave here. It takes 2 people to agree to marriage and only 1 person to decide on a divorce. Think about it. Yeah. So maybe they should only have divorce if both agree on it. That would be a good solution, maybe. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I know it was not a very long live cast, only 1 hour this time. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. And what if all assets were held stateside? Okay, one more here. What if all assets were held stateside, 401k, IRA, etc.? In case of a marriage, I think it would be very hard. Maybe not impossible, but I think it would be very hard. And it depends on the laws between the Philippines and the US. And my understanding is there's no law where a Filipina could go after a US citizen's money in the US. So basically, she would have to hire a lawyer in the US, or the lawyer here would have to hire a lawyer in the US. It would get so expensive and so messy. I don't see it. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but I think the chances are very small. But again, prenup, postnup, waiver, that's the way to go. Talk to a lawyer here, a family court lawyer, and that's the way to go. Act of Kindness says, have a wonderful week with your woman, Paul. God bless and all be safe. I think on that one, we'll end it. God bless everybody and take care. And hopefully you all guys will got something out of this video. And on my the video that was premiered this morning, hopefully you guys share that, because I think it's a good video for guys to be aware of the issues that can happen in the Philippines. Awareness is really the most important thing. What people decide to do with that awareness, that's really up to them, and the consequences of their actions is thereby, right? So just if people would share that video, I'd be very, very thankful. And and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on this video, as that helps me also. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care, and bye-bye.